All right, I'm going mute.
Oh, me too.
Welcome once again, everybody, to the Flying by the Seat of Our Pants Morro Bay Winter Bird Festival by Zoom. And guess what? We are also recording all of these things, and they are going to be available online. In fact, they actually are available online. Hey, Bob, I know you didn't sleep at all last night because you were busy doing a few things. Can you tell us what you did in the middle of the night and how we can benefit from your sleeplessness? What's happening with the recorded presentations?
Thank you, Chris, for asking that. We've had a great time doing that. Jeanette, our festival chairperson, has been uploading our videos to YouTube, and they are now linked to our website. So if you would like to listen to some of the previous presentations from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you can go to our website, or more easily go to the link that we just posted in the chat, and you can reach those recordings, and we will have today's recordings hopefully up there tomorrow for you to enjoy. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Today we're going to hear from Jessica, and she's going to talk to us about birding by ear again. And guess what? I threw away your bio, so maybe we'll have to fake something. But anyway, a couple of quick housekeeping items. We're going to mute everybody just because it's crazy if everybody can talk at the same time. There's about 165 people on here right now, and that would be crazy. And but we would like to have your questions. And so what you're going to do is, if you want to ask Jessica a question, you can write that in the chat. Here's the reality. She's got like 3 hours worth of stuff to say in 45 minutes. There may not be any time for questions, but write your questions down anyway. It's good practice. And then we will copy those questions and post them to her and somehow figure out a way to get your questions answered. So anyway, that's the story on that. A couple other things. We are still accepting donations. Obviously, this is free. This show is free. And when you watch it online, it will be free. Not online, but the filmed one online. But if you have extra money just sitting around, well, I'd like to get to know you, first of all, because you should take me out to lunch. But if you've got any extra money laying around, we would love to have a donation. You can do it bottom left there by mail, bottom right. You can go online, or those two little squiggly QR codes. You can hold your phone up to there and the camera function, and you can donate directly through Venmo or PayPal. Regarding donations, we don't know what the costs are going to be to canceling the festival because the bills still haven't come in. The dust has not settled yet, but it'll be thousands of dollars. And so we're trying to make up for that with donations so we can have a festival online, in person, not online, in person next year. So if you can make a donation, that would be great. We'd really appreciate it. You know what? Let me see. I think I've got Jessica's. Nope, Jessica, I threw your bio away since you did that yesterday.
That's okay.
Jessica is a smart young lady. She's been a biologist for 20 years in the field. She does stuff with butterflies. She does stuff with birds. She's one of the best bird by ear persons we know. And a shorter bio means you get to talk longer. So Jessica, I'm offline. Take it away and tell us something about birding by ear.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Well, thank you everybody for joining me today. And yeah, I'm going to guide you guys through a presentation which I've designed hopefully to help you guys start to develop your birding by ear skills. So what this is not is me just showing a picture of a bird, playing the song of that bird, and then you writing it down and trying to memorize like 50 or 100 bird songs. That's not what this is. Basically, I'm going to try and give you guys some tips, tricks, and skills on how to start developing your own ear for listening and start developing the language for how to bird by ear, because most of us, a lot of us are visual learners. And so we have a much easier time describing the way things look. We have a harder time describing how things sound. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. So I've got a big old PowerPoint that I am going to share for you guys, and let's get that going. Okay, there we are. So let's get cracking here. Okay, so how many times has this happened to you? You're birding through some beautiful, dense woodland, and you can hear all kinds of birds singing all around you, and you can't see a single thing. So it's just a reality that birds are very often more easily heard than seen. And so recognizing songs and calls can be a really vital part of birding. You might walk through like a really dense woodland and honestly almost never see a bird, but you can hear 20 or maybe even 30 different kinds of birds all around you. So I want to start helping you guys lay that foundation. Honestly, sometimes in the spring when everybody's singing, I go birding and I barely use my binoculars at all. I'm just doing it all by ear. Okay, so today we're going to cover a lot. Chris was exaggerating a little. This is really about 90 minutes of material shoved into 45 minutes as opposed to 3 hours. But normally this is a really interactive workshop that I give, and I tried to sort of be creative and think of a way where I could engage you guys over Zoom where everybody's sort of muted. So we're gonna try doing a couple of activities that actually involve the chat. So if you want, you can actually grab a notepad or a piece of paper and something to write with for later, because we're gonna do some activities where if you want, you can be writing things down. But first, we have a little overview. So we've got some background information, a primer on sort of why and how birds sing. And then I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to listen, and we're going to do a little activity. Then we're going to talk about memory tips and tricks and do another little activity. And then hopefully we'll have time at the end for sort of further tools and how you can progress on your own. Okay, so just off the start of the presentation, I've been talking about songs and calls. Those are two different types of vocalizations that birds make. Well, what's the difference? First of all, sometimes it's easy to tell what's a song and what's a call, but a lot of times they're labeled as such really based on their function, not necessarily what they sound like. So in temperate North America, where most of us are living, probably all of us, songs are usually made by males, but not always, and I'll get to that in a minute. They have several functions, but the main functions of songs sung by males are to attract a female and or to define the edges of a territory and then defend that territory from incursions. However, there's lots of other functions for song too. So songs can be used by males and females to maintain pair bonds, to identify the sex of individuals, especially in species where the males and the females look the same. That can actually be crucial. And they can initiate or engage in courtship behavior. So songs tend to be longer and more complex. And in most species, they're actually learned. So young birds actually have to learn the song from their parents, and they also learn it by listening to the other birds around them, their neighbors. And young birds may practice for weeks or even months to get those songs right. Okay, calls are made by males and females. Calls typically have a really huge range of functions, anywhere from like alarm, alert, which is like pay attention, pair recognition between male and female, contact calls within a flock, food signaling, all kinds of stuff. Usually calls are pretty short and simple, maybe one or even just 2 notes. And in a lot of species, they're innate. That means the bird is born knowing how to make that sound. They don't have to like learn it or practice it, because usually it's just one note. Okay, I want to touch really briefly on something that's really interesting and something that I really neglected to talk about in the years that I've been giving these presentations and workshops, and that is female song. So female song is actually really widespread in passerines or perching birds, songbirds, globally. And it's actually known in hundreds of species, and it's been documented in almost 150 North American species. So a lot of our familiar birds, that includes wrens, orioles, warblers, vireos. A lot of those females actually do sing. And there's really strong evidence that female song actually sort of ancestrally was the default. So way back, thousands, millions of years ago in prehistory, when birds were evolving, males and females sang, and lack of female song has actually evolved in newer species. And so why is that? Honestly, I could give an entire presentation on this, but real quickly, basically, we think it has occurred. It's occurred a lot in temperate North America because in the temperate areas, we have a shorter breeding season. In the tropics, it's a long breeding season. And the reduced breeding season in North America has resulted in birds developing divergent sex roles. So basically, the male and the female had to specialize in order to be more efficient. So what that means is, because the breeding season is so short, the female is the one who is like incubating the eggs. A lot of times she's building the nest, incubating the eggs, while the male, meanwhile, he's on like territory duty. So he's defining the territory, defending the territory from other invaders. He's out singing. So they have basically divided those tasks. In a lot of tropical species, that's not the case. They actually, the males and the females kind of both do everything. So anyway, just as a side note, I know a lot of people, when they think of a singing bird, they think of a male, but just want to say that's not true. And here is a very cool website. If you or anybody you know makes bird recordings, there's a big data collection project called the Female Songbird Project, looking for recordings of female songbirds. You can also go to this website and learn a lot more about female bird song. So very cool. Okay. Let's talk now about how birds sing. So this is actually really cool. Birds have a specialized organ called a syrinx. It is a specialized voice box. No other group of animals have a syrinx. Now we have a larynx. Birds also have a larynx, but it doesn't produce sound. We use our larynx, our vocal cords, to make speech, but birds have a totally separate organ called the syrinx. The syrinx is branched, and each branch is individually controlled. And the syrinx is at the base of the trachea, right where it forks into the lungs. So sometimes it's also called the lower larynx. There are actually a few bird species who lack a syrinx and therefore can't really make any traditional vocalizations. Those are things like New World vultures, storks, and ostriches. They don't really call or sing. Anyway, the point about each branch of the syrinx being individually controlled, that's really important, because that's what allows birds to make their incredibly complicated songs. So let's actually learn a little more about that. Songbirds can switch between sides of the syrinx or self-harmonize. They can make two different sounds at once through each side of the syrinx. Let's take an example. All right, here is a picture of a northern cardinal. Here where I am in coastal California, we don't have these guys, but they're present in most of the rest of the US. I'm going to play you the cardinal song, which for a lot of us is pretty familiar. So let's listen to that cardinal song. Okay, so it's sort of like wheat, wheat, what cheer, 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 okay? Let's break down how the cardinal actually makes that sound. Here is a video, which, fingers crossed, is going to work. This is an animation showing the song of the cardinal and how it works through the syrinx. So this is like, I think, a quarter speed or an eighth speed. It's very slowed down, and you will see in the animation that they've animated like what happens, the sounds made on each side of the syrinx. And you can see it on a sonogram here. So I'm going to play this. Very slowed down. Now watch. Okay, so you can see how the cardinal is rapidly switching between sides of the syrinx to produce this sort of range of pitch that like a human would never be able to. I'm going to play it one more time because it's so cool. Ready? So it's pretty neat. They're using each side nearly simultaneously to make this song. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so now that we know a little bit about sort of why birds sing and kind of how they do, let's talk about learning. All right, now a lot of us are starting out learning bird songs. And if you're like me, you learn to identify birds by sight first. And song is usually sort of an afterthought. So here's some advice from somebody who's been birding a long time. You don't need to learn everything at once. You might be kind of tempted to go out and sort of learn as many songs as possible, but I can tell you from experience that gets overwhelming really fast. So start with the most common birds and then build on that. This is how a lot of us begin learning bird identification anyways. You start by going out to your own backyard or your own neighborhood, listen to those birds, get familiar with those birds. What are the noises and songs that they make? Then you've got a foundation to build on. So learning those common backyard birds gives you these building blocks. And in fact, even if you're somebody who thinks, gosh, I don't know any bird songs, well, actually, I bet you do. You probably already know more than you think. So for instance, I bet you know what a mourning dove sounds like. Let's listen. So that is a really familiar backyard bird to lots of us. And I made a little list here. I tried to think of some of the most common birds everybody knows. Even if you're not a birder, you know what a crow sounds like, what a Canada goose sounds like, a mallard, a pigeon, and a red-tailed hawk. And even if you don't think you don't, you know what a red-tailed hawk sounds like. You do, and we'll find out why in a second. Okay, I made this slide because I wanted to show that you guys, like I said, already know a couple of birds. So we have on the left is a picture of a house wren. And if you have watched any TV or movies, you have heard these birds. So house wren song is super commonly played when you have like a shot on TV of like a suburban house with like a white picket fence or like a backyard or a meadow. It's basically like kind of the default cheerful bird song. This is house wren. Yep, so it's just like this bright bubbly chatter. Can't even tell you how many times I've heard that like over a shot of like a suburban home. Now the next bird, red-tailed hawk, when I play this, everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, this is what they play when they show any kind of, not only hawks on TV, bald eagle, turkey vulture. If they want to show wilderness, this is what it sounds like. There it is. How many times have I seen a shot of a bald eagle and heard a red-tailed hawk? So this is just like the default sound for westerns or wilderness or whatever. I'll play it again. Yeah. So everybody knows what a red-tailed hawk sounds like, even if you didn't know that you knew. Okay, so let's move into kind of learning how to listen. So as birders, we're training our eyes to look for certain things on a bird. So we look at the bird's size, shape, color, the size and shape of the bill, you know, field marks, these visual cues, and we kind of build our vocabulary of these visual cues in order to identify birds in the field. Well, we just have to train our ears in the same way, and we have to build that vocabulary of sound. So describing sounds can be really difficult and honestly even non-intuitive at first, like when you're trying to describe how something tastes. So for instance, when I moved out to California, I started going wine tasting, and a part of wine tasting is trying to like describe how the wine tastes. And honestly, I've been out here for 20 years. I still struggle to put what I'm tasting into like words that have any meaning, like what is oaky? Anyway, so you might feel that way when you start trying to describe sounds. You know, what makes a song sweet or like a chip note, metallic. But the more you practice, the more you're kind of going to develop this vocabulary. So let's break down specific things to pay attention to when we listen. Okay. Tone. Tone means the quality of the sound. Now, this can be like really subjective, but when I say tone, I mean like, is it like a whistle? Is it more of a chatter? Is it raspy? Is it sweet? Is it nasal? You know, kind of, like I said, it's very descriptive. And the important thing is, what does it sound like to you? Okay. Another thing to pay attention to when we hear a song is the cadence. Okay. That means like the pattern or sort of the rhythm of the sound. Is it really fast? Is it slow? Does it speed up or slow down, or maybe even do both? Last but not least, pitch. Okay, that's like how high or low the sound is, right? How high pitched or low pitched. Does the pitch rise, or does it fall, or does it do both? Does it go up and then down? Okay, or does it go up and down and up and down? You know, they could do a lot of things, but those are the things we're gonna try and pull this apart. Another thing to pay attention to is kind of just the overall pattern of the sound. Is it repetitive? You know, are they making the same noise or phrase over and over and over again? Are there distinct phrases broken up by spaces? Another thing is just, what does the sound kind of remind you of? You know, does it evoke like, oh, that it sounds kind of like a, you know, like a slide whistle. It sounds like somebody hitting like a teacup with a spoon. You know, what does it remind you of? So all these things, we're going to try and sort of break down what the bird noise sounds like. Okay. So now that we have these kind of areas to focus on, we are going to try this activity. So this is where you may want to get like a pencil and a piece of paper, depending on how into this you want to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a bird sound for you. I'm going to play it more than once so you guys can hear it multiple times. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to like bias you, but I also don't want you to like be focused on trying to identify what it is. That's not the point right now. Right now, we just want to listen to the sound. And I want you to like think up and write down some descriptive like words or phrases about this bird sound. So you can describe the tone, the cadence, the pitch, or none of those. You can just write adjectives. And then after we hear that, I'm going to ask you guys to do something else. So first, all right, let's listen to this mystery bird and start thinking up, you know, some descriptive terms for this song. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to play it again. Okay, so if you had to describe this sound to another person, what are some things you would use? I'm going to play it one more time. Okay, now this is the interactive part, and we're going to see if this works. I actually would love for you guys to type in the chat some of the things you came up with. So this is important. When you go to the chat and you click on the chat, you will see that there's no option to like chat to everybody, but I would like you to select my name. You should be able to select my name, Jessica, and then send me stuff in the chat. So just type a word or a phrase and go ahead. Okay, I'm actually going to very briefly, oh, here we go. Okay, I see stuff coming in. Oh boy, this is so fun, you guys. I love this. Oh boy. Okay, so we've got, oh, I'm getting a lot of good stuff. Ooh, sounds like a call and response. Sweet, ethereal, liquid, whistling, melodic, descending, then ascending, two-part whistle. Oh, sweet swirl. Oh, this is so cool. I'm seeing a lot of kind of similar things. People are saying things like whistling, high and low. This is so cool. Other people, yep, call and response. Very fun. And yes, and a lot of people are also telling me they think that this is a song as opposed to a call. Great. Flute-like. Ooh, I like that. Happy. I like that. Sweet. Echoing. This is really cool. Okay, this is awesome. You guys are doing so good. So let's find out what our mystery bird is. Oh, wait. Before I do that, I will tell you the things that I use to describe this noise. To me, in fact, I think ethereal. To me, it sounds floating or flute-like, and it is, oh, now it's not gonna work, hang on. There we go, it was a hermit thrush. So I bet a lot of you did know that this was, if not a hermit thrush, at least some kind of thrush. So thrushes have these whistling, melodic, floating, ethereal, sort of mysterious sounding songs. That was really great. You guys did fun. Let's do another one. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna play the bird noise and I'm gonna play it 3 times and I want you guys to think up, you know, adjectives to describe this. And then I want you to put them in the chat. Okay, here we go. First, I'll play the song, the noise. Wow, okay, so that sounds pretty different than the last one. I'll play it just one more time. Okay, now I want you guys to go ahead and put stuff in the chat. Okay, I think people are already putting it in there. I'm gonna look and see what we got. Oh boy, plaintive, harsh, scratchy, raspy, nasal, screechy, repetitive. Some people are saying it's a call, not a song. Grumpy, complaining. Ooh, alarm call. Maybe, yes. Oh, actually quite a few people say it sounds almost cat-like, like meowing, like my cat when he wants something. I like that. Repetitive, harsh, great. I love it. Okay, so yes, to me, I hear this, it's definitely a call, right? So it's not a song, it's a call, it's a single note. To me, this does sound raspy. To me, this is a kind of a grumpy or cranky sounding noise. In fact, I often describe this as cranky old man, like, arr. All right, who is it? It is spotted toey. So that was a spotted toey call. Okay, you guys are doing great. I love this. Okay, and let's do another one. I've got a million of them. Okay, we're gonna do another one. I'm gonna play this and you guys go ahead and put your descriptors in the chat to me. Write them down and then send them to me. Okay, here we go. This is mystery bird number 3. Also different. Okay, I will play it one more time. Okay, all right, let's see what you guys got. Oh boy. Okay, squeaky, chirpy, repetitive, insistent, cheery, ooh, staccato, repetitive, oh, ascending, melodic, even pitch. Oh, some people notice that it seemed to speed up at the end. Okay, repetitive, bouncy, fast. Up and down, jumping around. Very cool. All right. This was a Wilson's warbler. So this is the song of a Wilson's warbler. And to me, I think that my mnemonic for this guy is, it sounds a little bit scolding. So to me, it kind of sounds like, but it is repetitive. It kind of ascends. It sounds a little, kind of stays on the same pitch. Okay, you guys are doing great. Oh my gosh, I've already been talking for like over 20 minutes. We're gonna do one more real quick. I'm only gonna do this one once, and you guys don't have to put anything in the chat, but just kind of think to yourself how you would describe this. Oh my gosh, I'll do it one more time. How would you describe this noise? Yeah, so to me, this song, this sounds, it's obviously fast paced, it's very squeaky, it's very repetitive. And to me, it almost sounds like a doggy chew toy, right? Like the squeaka squeaka. Okay, and this little fella is a pygmy nuthatch. So they're a very cute bird that makes a very cute call. Okay, so just kind of final notes on starting to practice listening. Training your ears really does take time, and you can develop your own vocabulary. So if you have a bird guide like a Peterson or a Sibley or kind of anything like that, you will look in the sort of written description of the bird, you know, song, and it will have these words. It'll say nasally, you know, blah, 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 fast, buzzy. A lot of times it'll even try and write out the pattern of what it's saying. And that's great. You can definitely use that kind of stuff, but you can also develop your own vocabulary. So for instance, if, you know, that pygmy nuthatch to you, if you think that didn't sound squeaky, that sounded more like laughing or even like beeping, you know, whatever works for you guys. So just start, you know, kind of developing that vocabulary. And again, focus on learning just a few birds at a time. Definitely, springtime can be very overwhelming. This is actually like really early spring. Well, so for some of you, depending on where you are in the country, it is the dead of winter. But real early spring, when birds are just starting to sing, is kind of a good time because everybody's not going at once. Like May can be very overwhelming because all the birds are singing. Late summer, also a good time to practice where you just have fewer stuff going. So try and learn a few birds at a time. Out there, bird practice. Practice makes perfect. Okay, we're going to move on to memory tips and tricks. Different ways to remember songs and calls. Some birds are namesayers. Sometimes we can develop a mnemonic device or a phrase, and sometimes we can think of something that it sounds like. So namesayers, as you might guess, are birds named after the sounds they make. So that is extremely helpful when you're trying to learn not only what the sound is, but what the bird is called, because the bird is telling you what it's named. However, a lot of times this is more helpful in the Eastern United States. And the reason is because the European colonists settled the East Coast first, and that's where they started naming stuff in English. And then they moved east to west. So the Western counterparts to those Eastern birds sometimes don't make the same noises. So for instance, Eastern Phoebe versus Say's Phoebe or Black Phoebe, Eastern Towhee and Spotted Towhee, Eastern Wood Pewee and Western Wood Pewee. So here's a great example. I've got Eastern Wood Pewee and Western Wood Pewee. So Eastern Wood Pewee was what the colonists and the colonizers encountered that bird first. This is what they sound like. They say pewee. So the bird was named wood pewee because they live in the woods and they say pewee. Well, the Western wood pewee is the Western cousin. They are very closely related. So they were named Western wood pewee. This is what they sound like. They don't say pewee, but they've got that name. It's like it's almost like a legacy name. So us and the folks birding in the Western US, sometimes we have to deal with those sort of confounding names. But let's go through some examples. So long-billed curlew, that's a shorebird that we see a lot out here on the California coast. And they say, we can turn that into curlew. I think it's a little more curly, but curlew. And then of course, killdeer. They say that, they say killdeer and also killdeer, killdeer. Okay, what about poorwills? Yep, somebody heard that and said, yes, that bird is saying poorwill. And so that is how it's got its name. There's also a bunch of birds, whippoorwill, chuckwill's widow, and poorwill, all are named for the sounds that they make. Out here in the Sierras, we have mountain chickadees. Chickadees are a great example of a bird named for their sound. So here's mountain chickadee. 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 Black-capped chickadees and mountain chickadees all say chickadee, but there's actually a couple of species that don't. So here on the Central Coast, we have chestnut-backed chickadees who don't really say chickadee. Okay, mnemonics. Some birds seem to be singing a phrase, and you can actually use these or just make up your own. And I have a bunch just to kind of get you guys started. So here's golden-crowned sparrow. So I think they're saying, oh, poor me. Here it is. Oh, they sound so sad. Oh, poor me. All golden-crowned sparrows are just so sad and emo. Okay, what about California quail? Now, I'm actually originally from Chicago. Shout out to Chicago. So I think all California quails are saying Chicago. Here's what they say. That sounds like Chicago to me. And they're a big fan of the Windy City. And I don't make the rules, but all quail are Cub fans. They're all from the north side. Okay, what about olive-sided flycatcher? This is a great one. Olive-sided flycatchers say either quick 3 beers or quick free beers. So they're either buying around for their friends or it's a drunken frat guy. Here's what they sound like. Yep, so quick free beer or quick 3 beers. And lastly, we have common yellowthroat, who says, this is the common one, witchetty, 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 although you can honestly turn this into whatever phrase you want, but here's what they sound like. Yeah, that could be witchetty, witchetty, witchetty. So maybe they're all little witches. Okay, and oh, I forgot I had one more. The flight call of the American goldfinch is a like 3 or 4 note thing, and to me, they're saying potato chip. That sounds like potato chip to me. Oh, and then a favor, I keep forgetting how many of these I put in here. We've got mountain chickadees who are constantly ordering fast food. Cheeseburger. I'm sensing a food theme here. Maybe I'm just hungry. Okay. So then we have birds who just make sounds that remind us of other things. And thinking up that description can help you remember sort of who's singing and what the song is. Okay, here's a big one. Ping pong ball dropping on a table. So we're specifically talking about the cadence. Okay, imagine a ping pong ball dropping on a table. There we go, right? So it's an accelerating song. Okay, marsh wren, to me, they sound like an old-fashioned, like pedal-activated sewing machine. Right? Very mechanical. It almost doesn't sound like a bird. Okay, and cactus wren, this is another one used in TV and movies a lot. And to me, it sounds like a car, like somebody trying to start a car engine and it won't turn over. Right? Like you're flooding it. Okay, here on the central coast of California, we have Pacific slope flycatchers, and they're easy to recognize because they sound like they're hailing a cab. Right? Come here. Beep, beep. Okay, so we're running out of time, I know, but I want to do one more activity, you guys. So I'm going to play you some more mystery birds, and I want you to try and come up with a description or a mnemonic device to, kind of describe what you're hearing. So what does it sound like, or what are the birds saying? Okay, you don't have to necessarily make up a phrase, but just even what does it remind you of? Okay, so let's do the same thing as before. I'm going to play the sound, and then you guys, think up or write down, if you like, what you think it sounds like. And then you can put it in the chat. Again, remember to send it to me, and then I'll read out some answers. Okay, so here is bird number one. And some of you may recognize these. That's okay. We're not focused on IDing the bird. Remember, we're just thinking up descriptors. Okay, here's bird number one. Fellow Californians will probably recognize that. I'm going to play it one more time. Oh boy, okay, I'm seeing some good stuff here. So I'm seeing laughter, squeaky toys, waka waka. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I like that. Squeaking rusty bed springs, rubber chew toy, ratchet, ratchet, ask it, ask it. Oh, great, I love it. Okay, so this, oh, that's an acorn woodpecker. Okay, and to me, I think they sound like Fozzie Bear. So my mnemonic for them is waka waka waka. Okay, we'll do this bird. Okay. So that's a bird's song. One more time. I know I'm running out of time. Wow. Okay, let's see what you guys got. And we have twirly, someone catcalling. Oh, questioning, curious, seesaw, cheerio. Oh, a couple of people think it's saying cheerio. Oh, how about help me? I think that was acorn woodpecker. Okay, twirly, whirly, I like it. Call and response, conversational. Yeah, really awesome. Okay, so come on, here we go. This is a Cassin's vireo, which we have here out in the West. And this is what I thought. I thought it was also very conversational, and I thought it was kind of a call and response. Here I am, where are you? Red-eyed vireo, for those folks in the Eastern US, red-eyed vireo sounds really similar. Also kind of the phrasing, sort of da-da-da, da-da-da. Okay, this is a fun one. I'm only gonna play it once. It sounds really insane. Here we go. What? How do you even describe that noise? So that was a yellow-headed blackbird. Yep, I got rusty hinge, creaky door, buzzsaw, R2D2. I like it. Rusty sounding. Yeah, exactly. So what I thought, I think of it as either a rusty screen door, like opening and closing, or even like a chainsaw, kind of that starting up. Okay, and I think I've got one more. So I'm trying to end on a prettier note. Let's hear that guy again. Oh, so that's a song, a bird song. Okay, if you had to describe that to somebody. This is a canyon run. Let's see what you guys, oh, laughter, running out of gas. I like that. UFO landing, waterfall. Yeah, love it. Okay, so I actually think of it as laughter or a cascading waterfall. You know, it's kind of got that sort of downward thing. Okay, I'm really running out of time, so I've got like 2 more minutes. So I know we kind of flew through this, but I hope that these exercises are kind of getting you guys to start exercising that part of your brain that maybe isn't as active, right? Thinking about sort of breaking down a bird song, using those terms. So, you know, the key is to keep learning. Again, practice, get out there. If you hear a bird making a noise, do your best to try and track it down. Alternatively, go out birding with somebody who knows their bird songs. And that's a lot of how I learned. Was I just went out with friends and birders who knew a lot more than me, and I could just be like, what's that? What's making that noise? And then that would help cement that in my memory. So I'm flying through this. This will be recorded, so you guys can go find this. I'm not going to spend too much time, but we've got these audio guides. There's also apps that will help you identify. They actually gamify learning birdsong. And then we have audio recognition apps, which are like Shazam for birdsong, where you actually record the sound using the app, and then the app will try and ID it. And it's really only as good as like the AI. So those are still in development, but lots of things to potentially help you. Something I didn't even touch on is spectrograms. So if you were a really visual learner, spectrograms can actually be super helpful. A spectrogram is actually a visual representation of birdsong. And there are a couple of different apps that will do that for you. There's also an online game called Birdsong Hero, which helps you practice interpreting spectrograms. And that's the website. You can also just Google Birdsong Hero. And lastly, a super helpful blog. It's called it's Earbirding is the blog, and he's got an entry called How to Visualize Sounds. So if you go to earbirding.com and then you kind of go up in the upper corner, there's a tab that says How to Visualize Songs. You click on that and it will take you to all this amazingly useful stuff. Whew, and that's it. All right, I'm done. I'm going to stop sharing. Just under the wire. So I don't have really time for questions, unfortunately, but you guys can send your questions in the chat and we can try to get to them. You can also, I'm going to turn it back over to Chris because there's an email they can email their questions to. I'll let you answer that. Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica. Really appreciate your expertise. Always learn something new. Chicago is the California quail, unless you're in Mexico, and then it's Oaxaca.
Yes.
So again, thank you for all of that. And I also am hearing cheeseburgers when I'm out in the world, and potato chips. I think I'm thinking about food as well.
Yep.
Again, thank you for your time and your expertise. I can't go out. Wait to go out birding with you, and then maybe go out to lunch,
Yeah.
right after. Okay. Thanks again for your expertise. We really appreciate it. As Bob puts up the screen, it will have the places where we can make donations if you'd like to donate. Also, he has posted in the chat the locations of the videos, and that is also on the Morro Bay Bay Bird Festival Facebook page. Of course, if you're not on the Morro Bay Winter Bird Festival Facebook page or Instagram page, you should go there because that will get you all those things. If you want to make donations, all that information is at the bottom. If you want to reach Jessica, contact us at Support Morro Bay Bird Festival, and we will get notes to her. You know, you can Google her and find her yourself if you want to, because we're all available one way or the other. Thanks again, Jessica. Just want to let everybody know what's up next is Steve Schubert on condors. After that will be Mary Whitfield, and she's going to be talking about the way science is tracking birds and even bats and things like that. Can't wait for that one. And then John Muir Laws has a doubleheader on bird drawing and fast sketching, followed by Heather Hayes, who will be talking about the long-billed curlew and our favorite long-billed curlew, the bird called Dozer, who goes from Idaho to here every year. That'll be interesting. Finishing up tonight with Claudia, who is going to be talking about shorebirds. So we got a lot of stuff going on today. We're going to jump out of this one right now. If you want to get back on with Steve Schubert, jump right out and then come back on in about 10 minutes at the top of the hour. Again, Jessica, thank you. Your expertise and your generosity is amazing. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye,
You're welcome.
everybody. See you at the top of the hour.